You're going to have a conversation today with some Chinese officials and the ambassador. And one of the things the administration has wanted for a very, very long time is for China to devalue its currency. And there are people on Capitol Hill. There's a hearing today.
Not to devalue it, but to let it appreciate.
I'm sorry, let it appreciate. Let it appreciate, to unattach it. And people on Congress screaming about this. There's a hearing today about this. Where is that process? And in an odd way, even though all those people on Capitol Hill are your allies saying they want this to happen, would it be better for your diplomacy if they would just quiet down? Do the Chinese react more favorably if they don't have vocal public pressure?
Well, China is a sovereign country. China is going to have to decide its exchange rate. We can't force them to make that change, but it is very important that they let it start to appreciate again. And I think many of them understand that. I think they'll come to decide it's in their interest that they move, and I think it's quite likely they move over time. I think China will be better. They're more stronger as an independent country if they're not running an exchange rate policy that essentially has the Federal Reserve of the United States setting monetary policy in China.
This may be one of the most delicate relationships you manage. And we asked people out in the social networks on Facebook and Twitter what kind of questions would they have for you. And many of them raised concerns essentially that your hands are tied in this relationship, that you can't maybe be as strong, as aggressive as you would like because they have so much influence over us because of the debt. Is that true?
No, I don't think that's true, and I'm not concerned about that at all. Again, we have enormous stakes in a strong China. And they have enormous stakes in having access to our markets, being able to sell goods here. We got a lot we can do together in this area. We're going to have some things we disagree on, and we'll work through those. We're not going to agree on everything. We're going to have some tough issues to work through together, but we have a lot at stake in what's happening in China. They're getting stronger. They're growing more rapidly. More of that growth is coming in ways that are going to benefit of us, to our benefit. We're going to make sure there's a level playing field there for U.S. exports, and I think we can work through the tough things we have together.
The American private sector and businesses all around the world have been trying to rush to get into China because it is one of the world's leading, emerging, growing economies. And yet recently you've had this dust-up with Google. Without getting into the weeds of that, what is your sense? Is that a chill in that? Or businesses, American businesses and others around the world, starting to pull back a little bit because of the interference from the Chinese government?
Well, if you talk to businesses across the country, people that are strongest companies in the country who export a lot to the world, I think you'd hear them say today they're a little bit more concerned about how hard it is to operate in China on a level playing field. And I think that's one reason why the President's going to be working so hard to make sure that we get better access for U.S. goods in China, and we're seeing a fair rules of the game there.
And how hard is that part? It's a very, very different culture.
It is.
Do they understand it when you come to them, or when a Google comes to them and says, whoa, wait a minute?
Well, they get a lot of political pressure, too, in China. People don't realize that. They get a lot of people in China, like you hear here sometimes, saying, you know, we want China for China, China for Chinese producers. But I think if you listen carefully to what the Chinese have been saying, even just last week or so, they're very sensitive to the concern that they're not playing fairly. And